Hey, what's going on, everybody? This is D back again with MKD58 Media, and I've got another movie review for you guys. And this movie review is for the 1995 film Se7en. All right, now Se7en, it's directed by David Fincher. It is starring Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt, among other notable stars. So this is a movie that I've seen quite a few times, but I haven't watched it in a while, up until a few nights ago. So decided to give it a watch, and I still hold this movie in high regard. This is going to be kind of a quick review because there aren't any kind of new discoveries for me about this movie. What it's basically about is it is about a serial killer that is committing his kills based on with the theme of the 7 deadly sins. So each kill has something to do, at least in his mind, has something to do with those sins. So, and Morgan Freeman and Brad Pitt are the detectives trying to solve this case. Morgan Freeman is a Detective Somerset, who is a detective who is about to retire pretty soon. Like, he's already kind of on his way out, already cleaning out his desk. And Brad Pitt is Detective Mills, who is a young detective who just got transferred to where Somerset is at. They never actually named this city that this is all taking place in, but Detective Mills just got transferred there, so he's kind of just starting in a spot that Detective Somerset is finishing up in and ready to really get the hell out of Dodge and kind of leave this kind of atmosphere behind. This movie just is drenched in kind of ominous, depressing mood. It's a very kind of dark movie, and really to a certain extent a very hopeless type film. It's not really a positive movie. It doesn't have a lot of positive energy. When it's over, it doesn't really leave you feeling necessarily good, other than the fact, if you're a cinephile or if you're really into movies, if you're a big time film buff, you'll be excited and maybe appreciative of the film, the quality of the film, and the storytelling and performances and all that type of stuff. But it's not I definitely wouldn't say it's a kind of happy, feel-good film. It's definitely not that at all. And even for horror-related things, a lot of other horror movies are a lot more fun and enjoyable, even with all the violence and murder and things that are going on in those type of films. This film really kind of falls in a space kind of similar to The Exorcist, and this is just for me personally, similar to The Exorcist, where The Exorcist is a very well-made film, but you're never excited to watch it after you've already seen it once or maybe twice. And this is just for me. Other people might love watching The Exorcist, might like to watch it every year or multiple times a year or something like that. But The Exorcist for me is a film that really high quality, pretty much a flawless film in terms of its execution and its impact and effect. But after my first and maybe second initial viewings of the film, I have no intention. I'm sure at some point I'll watch it again, but I have no inclinations to do so. I'm not looking forward to it. I'm not excited. There's never a time where I feel like, man, I need to watch that movie again, because it's not really a feel-good film. It's a pretty ominous, dreadful type movie, and that's kind of where Se7en has finally fell in for me upon this most recent viewing of it. I still hold the film in high regard in terms of its execution and the kind of feeling, I guess you could say, it gave me when I first saw it, in terms of like, whoa, that was a crazy movie. And of course it has kind of a twist ending. There's an actor that's in this movie that when this movie was first coming out into theaters, he was not marketed. Like, you didn't know he was in the film until you saw it. So I won't, even though most people have seen this movie and know about it, if you happen to be somebody who hasn't, I won't go into that. I won't discuss any of the, the surprise actor that's in this or any of the twists and things like that. But my score for this movie, I'm going to go with 8 out of 10 for Se7en. Still feel this is a very high quality film, well made film. It's shocking, it's brutal, it's interesting, but still dreadful and ominous and depressing. It somehow manages to just do all of those things, but you still have to give it high scores. I put this somewhere in the same kind of class as Silence of the Lambs, and at least leading up to this review, I was putting those two in a similar class. I think overall I go with Silence of the Lambs as the better overall viewing experience, simply because Silence of the Lambs, there is still there's a hint of fun to Silence of the Lambs. Like, it's not just brutal death and torture and horror and that type of stuff. There's a hint of adventure and fun to it. There's an energy to it. There's positive energy in spots of Silence of the Lambs. With Se7en, it's just attrition. It wears you down in terms of it being just gloomy and dreadful. The city it takes place in is always raining. It's just a very kind of dreadful type film, though well made. So that's the edge that Silence of the Lambs for me has over Se7en, is it does come out to a more enjoyable viewing experience. Whereas Se7en, after your first viewing and after you know the twist and things like that, Se7en, upon repeat viewings, is not really a fun viewing experience. Now, this recent time that I just watched it, part of the reason I watched it was because my girl had never seen it, and it is one of those movies where if you know somebody who's never seen it, you're kind of like, okay, you got to watch this, we got to watch this. So it is one of those, and that's part of why I watched it. And that was really kind of the only actual enjoyment I got out of this recent viewing of it, was the fact that she hadn't seen it. So I was kind of paying attention to her reactions and what she thought about certain things. It wasn't so much for myself. And so that's where I'm at with this movie. 8 out of 10 for it. If you have never seen this before, then it's a must watch, in my opinion. But it does lose some of its steam, a lot of its steam maybe, after your first and maybe second initial viewings, if some people need a second viewing of it. But I don't think it's one of those movies where you need a second viewing to catch stuff. As long as you pay attention, the first viewing, you'll catch everything, and the twist will be there, and the twist will, it might get you. I thought it was a decent twist, a good twist. I think it was a really well-made movie, just very, very depressing. But something that is interesting about it, and I thought about this upon this recent rewatching of it, is that it's a horror movie, of course, but it's a horror movie where all of its horror, for the most part, all of its horror is in the aftermath. There's only like one, I believe, there's only one killing that happens on screen, that you see happen. Everything else is murders that have already occurred, and you just see the aftermath, the body laid out, and basically the crime scene, essentially. So it's a very kind of detective, noirish horror film. I do feel strongly this fits in the realm of horror. Yeah, so that's it. It's not a long review this time, or at least not as long. So that's it. 8 out of 10 for Se7en. Definitely check it out if you have not seen it. I think I touched on every kind of aspect I wanted to touch on. So that's it, you guys. As always, until the next time, I will catch you on the next one.